One of those affected areas within the COVID-19 pandemic was real estate. And when you really look at where the effects came from, then you have to go back again in 2018 for when the rain started beating this sector. But now, let's take a look at exactly how banks' credit to the sector has been performing overall before we actually even talk about the fortunes of the sector in general. And exactly when you look at that, then you can actually say that, well, no bad. Not even where it needs to be, but when it comes to lending to the sector, then actually say that it has been improving all the way from Jan 20th to October 2020. That's exactly where we are. So it has been on an upward trend, something positive to note from that. All right, Cyton, towards the end of last year, looked at exactly how the real estate sector performed, and this were the key talking points on exactly how the sector performed. Let's jump into that data. Now, they're saying the residential sector performance, it dropped 6.1%. That's from 2019 to just 4.7% in 2020. Retail sector, 7.8% to 7.5%. You can actually say that. Commercial office, 7.5%, 7%. And when you're talking about the best performing notes, all right, it was just under rental. Westlands, 9.9%, Karen, 9.8%. That's exactly where it was. All right, let's look at the wage employment in the real estate and see exactly whether the people who have actually employed in this sector have been getting their money. Yes, they have, but you can see exactly where it is again. 2015 to 2019, pretty much down there. All right, let's look at real estate contribution to GDP. Do we have anything around that area in terms of that contribution? We seem to be running out of that data this morning. 2015 again to 2019. The biggest contribution came in 2016, but from 2016 to where we are right now, again, started dropping, stagnated in 2017 to 2018, and then 2019 came to 6.9%. So not so much on exactly where it needs to be. Question is, it's 2021, and how is this sector performing COVID-19 pandemic? We took our time here on Business AM to speak to one of the upcoming estates in Kenya. Let's take a look. We travel 33 kilometers from the center of the city all the way to Machakos County. Location at the river, Greenpark Estate. A thriving development amid the depression in the economy as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the real estate sector underperforming in the recent years, we seek to answer the question, what is working for Greenpark Estate, and is that what should happen in the real estate sector in the country? But before this, there was this in 2018. The river adjacent to the estate broke its banks during one of the rainy seasons, and with it, 6 houses were flooded, and a section that was close to the river was also flooded with the overflowing waters. The authorities came calling in. The estate was put on the spotlight. Question, was it going to withstand the river any longer? And indeed, whether it was constructed on riparian land. For those headlines about an estate in Machakos County that was full of water, this was the river in question. And now it's not that rainy, so that's why I'm actually able to stand here dressed in quite an orthodox way for me to carry this story. But you only had to come up to here for you to actually realize that should it rain, then this water could go all the way up to the wall that they're constructing. Whether that is going to stop the water from getting into that estate again is bound to be seen. But what we're here is to show you exactly how this was affecting this area. And I don't know whether you can see beyond me, because this water could actually go all the way and cover that bridge, because by then vehicles could be redirected, which is exactly showing you how much that water could rise. With what was then back a public relations disaster and a real estate disaster for a Greenpark Estate that was looking to attract more clients, a proper navigation and a direct solution to the problem was needed.
So what we did is we invested in a retaining wall, which costed us about 15 million Kenya shillings. We had specific drainage points where we installed sluice gates, so that in case an event like that ever happens because of one reason or another, then we're able to control the flow of water into the development. So this is the wall that they're saying is going to stop the water from overflowing into the estate, because if you actually look at it, it is this height. And so if the water could actually rise to this height, that's the only time it's bound to go inside. But now they're saying that they don't anticipate that the water will come all the way from down there to this area to spill into the estate. And they're quite confident that this is what is going to safeguard the estate from flooding and running away from those bad headlines about an estate that is unlivable because of the flooding from this river just next to it. And remember, this is a developing area, so this river just comes as a blessing to the area and sometimes a disguise in that blessing. With the flooding issues settled and with the court cases associated with the positioning of Greenpark Estate behind their back as well, CEO Shiva Arora explains the prospects of Greenpark Estate in 2021 amid the coronavirus pandemic and the prospects for mixed living in the future.
If you look at what is a master planned gated community, it's some place where there's residential, there's retail, there are schools, there's amenities, there's places for kids to play, it's safe, it's secure, it's a live, work, play environment all within one facility. And if you look at Greenpark Estate on Mombasa Road where we are today, it's really the leading master planned estate for residential within, I would say, even East Africa. But 2020 was a difficult year because of COVID, but towards the end of 2020 and now the beginning of 2021, we've seen a lot of interest and sales in the development as well, and that for us is obviously a positive. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities. We now want to be moving to the counties where we see a huge opportunity in developing what we would call mid-income housing, but not your apartments. If you're delivering a unit at between 6 to 10 million shillings in the growing Kenyan counties, and someone can have their own space with a garden on their own plot, really giving someone a completely different product to what they're currently getting in the market, almost taking Greenpark Estate and replicating it in the counties, but making sure that it's affordable. And at the same time, it's within the reach of the growing middle class. We see a huge opportunity there, so you'll be seeing a lot from us. Mr. Simba, look, there's definitely a slowdown across the economy. As Superior Homes, we've always been a conservative real estate developer as well. We have no external debt on our books. We only build as and when there's demand in the economy. And because we have our own contracting business, we're able to build as and when there's demand. What we actually saw with COVID was an increase in demand for Greenpark Estate. Now, Greenpark's nice because it's 500 occupied homes, which we now have, but not in an apartment block over 4 acres. It's 500 homes which each sit on their own plot on 160 acres. So everyone has their own space where plots are all, homes are all sitting on a 1/4 acre of individual plot. So people have gardens, they have a lot of space, they're naturally socially distant. So it's really created a demand for such sort of housing because the schools are within the estate, the convenience stores within the estate, the amenities is within the estate, the densities are low, and the price point is still cheaper than what you pay for an apartment in say the central business district. And now with the expressway coming in from Westlands all the way to Mlolongo, before where Athi River people considered a trek, before today it's going to be a 25-30 minute journey, which is similar to any other suburb that surrounds Nairobi. So that's where we've really seen quite a bit of demand come in. We're definitely also going to take a very conservative route. It's a point at which you only supply the demand that you have in the market. You obviously have to start to think about growth, new projects and the rest, because it's quite a buyer's market at the moment as well. Whether you look at it from a developer's perspective who's looking for land or JV partners, or you look at it from a homeowner's perspective, someone who's looking for real estate that they can purchase. But the economy is going to be tough. It's still going to be tough for the next couple of months. There's still a lot of uncertainty. We're getting into politicking cycles. The shilling has been taking a little bit of a beating in the markets. So is it the best time for an economy? And it doesn't necessarily have to be real estate. In sectors across the economy, everyone needs to take a cautious approach. What COVID-19 did teach us was that everyone needs to take a step back and evaluate everything again before they get in. So yes, while there are opportunities for growth, and we're lucky at Superior Homes, we're able to be positioned ourselves for that sort of growth, given a conservative nature that we've run the business in already. But it's now to continue to take that cautious approach, because you don't want to forget what got you here in the first place. So if you talk about master plan gated communities, definitely one of the futures. Yes. It's a lot to execute though. We've got a good track record in terms of executing it. We've done it here at Greenpark with over 500 homes. We're doing it at Pazuri, Vipingo, which is our latest project in Vipingo, where we're already underway, construction's ongoing, sales ongoing in phase 1. That's going to be 370 units on 100 acres. So similar low density, large spaces, large gardens, recreational areas, and amenities all within the estate.
Yes.
That takes a lot of time to think about the master plan. How does each section fit into one another? But definitely the future's got to be space. However, saying that, the closer you move to the Nairobi Central Business District, the more dense it becomes because of the lack of availability of land. But with the infrastructure network growing and roads becoming more and more enhanced throughout the country, we see a huge opportunity in replicating this sort of a business model across the Kenyan counties. I wouldn't necessarily attribute it to devolution, but yes. I'll give you a couple of examples. If you look at Nakuru, really growing. It's got a hub of strong professionals within the area. You're starting to see doctors, you're starting to see lawyers, you're starting to see people in professional services like accounting, banking. It's historically growing in terms of GDP per capita. You look at a place like Eldoret with the new road networks, the bypasses surrounding it. It's really growing. You look at a place like Naivasha with the inland container depot, the narrow gauge railway, the growth and industrialization that's taking place in the horticulture sector. You see that Moi South Lake Road, for example, is being tarmacked all the way. There's so many opportunities in picking the right spots, but at the end of the day, you've got to look for, can you execute it once you get there? So it's growing GDP per capita within sectors that are not Nairobi.
Yes.
And really looking at how can I get in there and start executing and put in a different business model that other people have seen.